Welcome to the BMI podcast, guys.
Welcome.
It's been a while, actually.
It has actually.
Since we've caught up.
Yeah. Life's busy.
Life's been happening, right?
Yeah.
You know, been full on for myself, and
Yep.
I think for yourself as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Different seasons, I guess. You know, things are
Coming into those warmer months.
Yeah, and especially for yourself, right? Like the
Yep.
warmer months for your business.
Yeah.
Mine is also for the warmer months for building.
True.
So like I'm trying to get ahead of things
Yeah.
so that we're not doing stuff in the wet.
Yep.
So like it is.
Now's all the preparation.
Yeah,
going.
pretty
And
much.
I guess the change in even economy and how the property market's kind of going will be impacting the momentum swing of you at the moment too, right?
100%. Like it's been pretty full on. Like, so I guess we can start like what at the moment, Judith's trying to buy her first home, and we sort of started the groundwork maybe 2 or 3 months ago. You know, we went to our broker, and then we went and tried to put together a plan and like how can we go out and buy a house and stuff like that, and put all the stuff in line and started saving and or even just getting into the real estate mode of like looking like it's not an overnight sort of process.
Yeah.
It kind of takes a long time. It's very tedious, you know, like going through multiple open homes, also or just with your agent if you're just popping around. Like we're quite lucky because we finish work relatively early, so we just we'll be messaging the agent and then we'll go and do a viewing during the day, which is kind of like lucky for us because some people have to
cram that.
Well, yeah, try to find the houses that they like the look of, and then they got to try and dart over all over the city that they're looking to get their open homes in time, and sometimes the open homes are on the same time, and like you brought up before, we're in it's kind of a pivotal moment at the moment. Like it's moving towards a seller's market, which is, you know, a market where the seller is getting more for their, you know, bang for their buck, or they're getting a lot more competition. There's a lot more people with pre-approvals and investors are starting to come back into the market. So we're just, you know, we've been in 3 multiple offers and those out of those 3 multiple offer situations, we literally did not get any indication on price. So they go, whatever you like, pay as much as you can. Pay like you want a shot. This is the I guess market the problem value. About with agents is they can go, well, 600 is not going to buy it, and I was like, well, what's going to buy it? I can't tell you that. It's just like and
playing
like
a game.
Yeah, well, no, their job is right, and that used to be my job. Like our job is to work for the vendor, because their vendor pays you the commission. So it's your job to get the vendor as much as possible, and that kind of works when you're going into multiple offer situation. You kind of play people like, or how much are you willing to pay? You know, like that. But with the multiple offer situation as well, you have to sign a paper, so you can't come back and be like, well, I would have, if you hear went for 650, you can't go, well, I would have paid 650, but you put down 630, and they're like, well, that's why they sign the paper, because there can be problems. Like, I told you needed to put down as much as you were willing to pay, so that's that part of the process that became quite tedious.
Is that what kind of almost differentiates it from being an auction? Because otherwise you may as well have a fucking auction. If you've got like multiple people bidding multiple times, well then there's no real distinction between that and almost a formalized auction. Yeah,
so an auction is slightly different, because auction, like everyone that's bidding on that day is unconditional. Right. So that means like it's selling that day. Yes. Versus if you're going into multiple offer, normally it's when you've got your own conditions. So like you need 10 working days for finance, 5 days for builders, 5 days for solicitors. If you're going to auction and you want a chance to bid there, and your bank requires you to do a builder's report or thing, you have to pay for that up front, do your own due diligence yourself, and then you turn up on auction day and you can still lose, because like some big kingpin can turn up and just pay another 20-30 grand because they're just sick of looking for properties. And like it is like that. So like auctions can be good. You can get a good deal on the day, because vendors are also like, well, sweet, like they might want 620, and then you're like sitting at 6, and then but you're quite stubborn on it. They're like, well, I'm just going to take it, so I don't have to go back out to the conditional market, because in the conditional market you can get tied up into contracts for a month, and then they still fall over. And then you've lost your, I guess you call it, your prime marketing time. When you're fresh on the market and you get as much people through, that's when you build up that demand. And then like it's sort of that scarcity, and that's what auction's good about as well, is like people are worried they're going to miss out. And then if they aren't unconditional and they still turn up to the auction, they wait until if it passes in. If no one buys it on the day, then they're ready to boom, put in a conditional offer.
Gotcha.
And like it's turning into that kind of market right now, like what we're noticing, and it's sort of why I've been urging Judith to get something sorted now, because one, I'm already busy enough as it is with my development, but not only that, it's just takes a lot of your time up, and then you also, it's quite tedious, and you don't really know, and then the market is just constantly becoming harder and harder. So what we've been looking at, like I said before, we haven't had any indication on 3 of the prices. So the one that we're under contract with now, that Judith's under contract for, is we finally got to have a one-on-one negotiation, and even then we still were going back and forth for a while. That's what I prefer to do, and that's kind of why I said to her, like, hey, like it's a decent property. We've been looking around. We got it for a decent price, so we got them down a bit. And then we're trying to go for a reduction right now as well, because of her lending had to change. Like we thought we were going in at 570 we're borrowing, but then they came back at 510 because they weren't allowing her as a sole trader, allowing her to add back in some rent to add into that serviceability. So then that ended up, there's always spanners, and that's the thing that a lot of people, Judith was saying yesterday, I would have given up if it wasn't for me knowing what to do and how, and because it just becomes hard. And I do see why some people just they just give up and they're throwing in the towel, because it's like, oh man, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And then
when you feel like you're getting losses, like miss this one, turned down by this person, not enough over here, and it's like you just feel like you're always almost at a loss, rather than feel like you're kind of progressing towards actually getting the damn thing that you're trying to get.
Like it's quite demoralizing, right? Like that was the hardest part, and I find it was quite good for her. It's like educating her. So then when we came to this one, she was more ready to make a decision.
For sure.
It's kind of how the real estate market works. Like you kind of need to get the market needs to educate you, because the people come into the market and think, I know the market, and I thought that's not worth that. They think there's like, no, like the way that it works is the market dictates the price. So whatever someone else is willing to pay is what it's worth.
Is what it is.
And that's actually how it works. So it's the same thing for the vendors. They go, my house is worth 800,000. Well, let's see.
When you take it to market.
Take it to the market, and let's get some advice back, or you get some price indications from what people are seeing it at, and then you relay that back to the vendor. Well, actually, everyone's saying this is 750. And you're pretty far off. Like, are you willing to come down? Like, because with buyers and being a buyer's market or a seller's market, that's where it's different. Where some buyers, they go, well, it's not worth that, and they'll only throw in a 750 offer. And then if the vendor's not willing to come down or anything like that, that's where the vendor normally sits there, stays stale, and then it won't sell, or they get beaten down by the market, because that's literally what happens. And so you have to take another 3 or 4 750 offers, and then they're like, oh, okay, my house is worth 750.
All the while you're still paying the same fees for the agents and whatnot.
Yep, you're paying the fees, and then you're also, like, a lot of people when they're selling their house, they're normally got a house in mind that they want to move to as well. So they might lose out on the one, so they probably go out, oh yeah, I got a good deal on that. But then you want max for yours. It's like, well, someone's trying to get a good deal on yours. Like that's the beauty of the market dictating the prices. Like people are like, oh, I did really well. It's like, yeah, well, you're also going to be buying off someone who's done really well. Well, like it's that you buy in the same market normally, unless you sell sit, and then like there's some people who go, oh, the market predictors.
They'll just wait.
They'll sit on the sideline, but then inflation will eat their will eat their money. So that's
and I guess the longer you leave it, the further you're going to get technically into that kind of seller's market anyway. If you did have to buy, right? Like if you didn't act now, or you weren't kind of preparing yourself to act now, well then you'll be doing it in January, February, March, and well then it's most likely going to be even more of a seller's market.
Yeah.
And so the demand or the prices are just going to continue to go up at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, and that's where I guess that's where my urgency comes from, is I can see trends, and I've been in the market since 2013 now, so pretty well versed in property, not only just being a property developer, but also being in real estate as well, selling real estate, and just seeing human habits, and like you see the tells when you can see a switch in the market. So when I was in, I think it was 2015, 2018, I was in real estate, and that was actually during a switch as well. So, and that was when I had developed, and I remember there was an interest rate hike as well during that period, and you saw it go from full auction rooms to 3 people in the room.
Yeah.
And those 3 people were the vendors.
Yeah.
So like you see where that's what my tell I would do is, like, if you're trying to gauge where the market is right now, go start turning up to random auctions of the real estate companies, and you'll see if there's active people around, it's just if there's people there, there's interest, whereas if there's no one there, it's like, it's kind of a dead market. So that's where you can maybe use that to your advantage and go and negotiate a bit more, because
even I'm starting to see, even where we go and walk the dogs around like Green Hill area, and where they're popping up all the new houses and sections and things there. A lot of them are now popping up faster and kind of coming into, the sales signs are going on, and the sold signs are going on even faster. Like you can feel the momentum picking up. You can see the posts in the road kind of coming in a lot more now.
Well, we just got a 0.5% interest drop from the OCR yesterday.
Yeah, right.
And that's a huge tell. But a lot of people some people get ahead of themselves, and they see the drop as it's like, sweet, we're in good times. Well, we've still got 6 months to we've got 3 months till we're out of our locked in interest rate. So then that pressure is only alleviated at that point.
Yeah, gotcha.
So a lot of people are kind of like, yes, they're optimistic and still like, I guess, excited, which is always good. I think more positivity and more like, shit, we're almost out the end of it. But a lot of people are also getting a bit ahead of themselves as well. And that's why I've been saying it probably the last 4-5 months, like now's the best time to buy. And I think right now is like the last time to get a good deal.
Yeah.
Because right now it's slowly turning.
To hike again.
Yeah, well, we've gone for it. Those 3 multiple offer situations, not knowing the price. Versus we finally found one where a vendor was willing to actually not play us against others, like, because we got in earlier, it was only been on the market for 5 days. So like, and normally some vendors would be like, all right, we'll do one more open home and then we'll go back out to interested parties. But, like I think it's my experience probably is pushed it to that point, whereas I understand how it was, and I went to the agent and he's been loving it because he hasn't been needing to educate us, and it's annoying too, because I was just like, I'll put an offer on that, like it's going to be lower than what they want, but like, are they willing to negotiate? And then it became, you're in a multi-offer. I was like, it's like, oh god,
Here we go.
And I was like, oh well, there goes my lowball offer. So then you have to try and do your calculations, your math on like how much you think,
and it's a psychology game at that point, like how much is this person going to put in, like actually what is it worth? But I guess if has Judith kind of got to the point where she's almost realizing it's only she can only put what she thinks it's going to be worth, and then kind of move on to the next one.
So that's why I said it's kind of been good for her, because she's been learning the market now, and like learning how the process is, and the I guess the kick in the guts. Once you're like, no, got it, because then you start going, she's been pretty good actually. Like I'm probably worse for it than her. I was like, man, I would have bought that for $580.
Yeah,
like
we're only the game.
And I also time. For like maybe not fathers, like people are trying to find their I guess their home to be their home for the next 10 years. For us, like I've sort of been coaching her and be like, it's It's just thing. Like it was not short. It's long term, but it's more like don't have an emotional attachment to it.
Right.
Some people get emotional attachments to properties and then they overpay.
Yeah.
Whereas you kind of need to be like, well, this is an investment. It's a long term investment, and you need to be like, all right, like you can have favorites, but you can't just be like, well, that one's favorite and there's no logical reason, but I'm going to pay an extra 50 grand for it. Like there has to be reasoning behind every sort of, I guess, pro and con, and every part of that step. You need to kind of be able to justify it. Not, oh, I like that kitchen because it was really nice and I liked it. And then, so therefore I'm going to pay 50 grand over what it's worth. Whereas more, I'm like, how do we get a deal? Where can I build in value? Then sort of coaching in that part. So where, like, can we, like that place that I showed you, it can be spruced up quite nicely. Doesn't need too much work, but will still add a bit of value to it. You can tidy, paint the garage and whatnot, and it will still present a lot nicer.
Add value,
like paint doesn't really add too much, but there's a few things we would do inside, but because of the pre-approval amount being lower, that's chewed the going through and smashing out walls and like that part there. So that's also a part of the journey as well. Learning like, okay, well, we've come up a bit short on lending here. All right, well, change plans. All right, well, let's just spruce it up, rent it out, and just go from there. And then when that person moves out, then do the big overhaul once we've accumulated a bit. Yeah, because
more revenue towards it.
Yeah, and it's just like I think it's more important to get in the market now. Like I think I've always said, like it's about time in the market, not timing the market. Like it's a huge thing. A lot of people are trying to time the market, and man, I'm yet to find someone who's timed everything perfectly. Like right now, I'm thinking about selling one of my properties to free up some equity to go towards my development, so that I can therefore hold one of the units that I'm building myself as well. Like really realistically, it's not the best time for me to sell. I could sell, if I could hold on to that, sell that next year, I would get another 50 to 100 grand. And because I remember when it was at its peak, it was valued up to 600 and now it's down to 440. So like I could eventually wait and get back there, but then it's also what's called opportunity costs. So I was like, well, if I don't sell that now, it's going to slow my opportunity. Yes.
So where are you at with the development side of things at the moment?
So I've just got ready for building consent. So they're almost ready to lodge. So, and I'm just trying to sort the finance out. And then once we've got finance, I'm pretty much lodged for building consent, and then we'll be ready to go. So it could be 2 months, 3 months away. I want to be able to move, because there's actually that leads into something else that's been going on. So I'm currently moving, relocating a house for Judith's family onto their farm. So I've been helping them out with that. And then I'm also planning on moving my house out to their farm and helping them subdivide out their other farm.
So the house from Ngunnawal here?
So no, my house by the uni. So that I'm developing on. That needs to go. So I've actually, I'm giving it to them, and we're going to put that on a section that we're subdividing off out of their farm, and I'm going to renovate that for them, and then move my parents into there. So man, I'm wearing a few hats, like it's and then the coffee business has been absolutely booming. We've had 2 of our busiest weeks in a row almost, and all while trying to buy a house, move a house, get my house ready to move, get my development done, and lined up, and subdivide the family farm. It's just been hectic, man.
I mean, like, there's probably balance is probably the wrong word. So how do you prioritize that many hats?
It's been really difficult, if I'll be honest. Like, it has not been easy. I've had a lot of sleepless nights because it's weirdly the organizing and planning that goes into stuff is quite painful. It's once we've got the house there, once we've moved the house off, once I've broke ground for the development, once I've got the lending, that stuff can like move like clockwork. You've got programming that can fall into place, whereas right now I'm dealing with connection problems, getting the architect to get into building consent quick enough so that we can get building consent so we can move before the Christmas break. Like there's all of this stuff that's going right now. I've got to get my lending sorted so I can move my parents out to their spare house on the family farm, then move that house there so they can renovate. So they're going to be living next door, and then we're putting the house there. Dad and mum, just so we can renovate that house. And it's sort of a deal I'm working out with the in-laws. Like, we can move the builder right there.
I was going to say your dad's going to do the renovations.
Well, all of us are. We're going to have to chip in. It's a lot of work because we're splitting the house into two, and then we're adding in an extension in the middle. So we're adding in a 1.2 meter extension, so that it can add probably another 12 square meters to the whole house, which will make will up the value quite a lot. And then when you've got it apart, it's actually quite easy to do it then versus doing it after. Once you've moved it in and try to extend elsewhere, it costs a lot more. Whereas you're just literally putting in new joists, putting down 1.2 meter plies and just all the way through, join the walls, and then do your internal works. So we're still a bit of work, so that's why we're going to move them to their I guess the farmhouse that's there.
Is this kind of like their retirement thinking?
Well, it's my retirement thinking for them, for mum and dad, and Judah's parents are happy because I'm giving them that house. So like they, just to put in perspective, their house that they're moving to, their farm they're on now, that's roughly around 90 grand. So like I'm giving them, they got to pay for the house to get moved there, but they're getting, because my house is a bit bigger as well. It's 130 squares versus the one they're moving is a 93 square meter. So we're working together. Like we're sort of like working as a team, and that's sort of what has to happen. I think, like for me, it's tough for me to try and look after everyone all on my own. And not that I have to or anything like that, but if I can make it work, and then it benefits the in-laws as well, because they get a house on there, they subdivide that section, that whole parcel will be worth around 800 grand. And they're paid about 50, 60 grand to get it moved there. And then they'll renovate it for another 50, 60 grand. They put in 150 to subdividing. So you're all in about 250 grand, and then you got an $800,000 parcel at the end of it. Plus you got 2 additional sections. So we're chopping it up to three parcels. So then they can do whatever they want on there. They can keep it for the family. There's endless options, and I've kind of been helping them through that process. And that's,
is this the first time they've kind of done anything like that?
Yeah, well, they're just farmers. So I kind of went to them. I said, you should do this. I think they would benefit from it, and I said, like, use my expertise and my knowledge, my connections, because, it's thinking outside the box. Whereas if they were to go by the district plan or what's allowed, they're only allowed to chop into one. But then if there's a little, I guess, loophole, is that you can chop. There's a certain amount of square meterage or hectares that you have to have, and you're allowed to chop off one section up to 2,500 square meters. But there's no rule saying you can't chop that bit off, and then you chop that bit off, then you chop that bit off. So you go within each other's boundary. So like there's that sort of knowledge where a lot of people don't know.
So they just end up with 2 rather than a
well, they think they're only allowed to do 2. But you do what's called a staged development, and you chop it up, and then it's just called an adjusting of boundaries. So then you adjust the boundaries of that one, and but you can do all 3 stages at once. So you just go submit, and then it's just boop, boop, boop. And then you go and peg it out.
Which is more paperwork and more price, but same shit at the end of the day.
Well, it still goes under the same application, subdivision application. So it's actually, it's quite a smart idea, and I didn't come up with the idea, but I thought, like, what can we do? So I went to the right people, and then they're the ones who are fully versed, and they were called planners. And that's why it sort of plays into a good point there, where it's about getting the right team underneath you, having the right people, the know-how. It's it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's sort of, those are very important for just asking questions, being curious. Like, what can we do here? And that's what led to this. And then, because I always wanted to give them the house, because it's just a waste just because it cost me $30,000 to demolish it and then dispose of it. So well, might as well, like, do you want a free house? And like, we'll work together, and then would you charge? I was like, would you charge my parents cheap rent? And then they're like, well, yeah, you're doing everything, and it just adds to their
value
portfolio.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Good thing about our teamwork that you kind of brought up, and it's like that probably almost ties back into the coffee card and everything now, and obviously you guys developing a team there, and growing a team so that, you know, obviously now you can almost not take a step out of it, but you can slowly take that step back, because you're kind of building a team and community on the coffee front too.
Yeah.
And that's obviously just recent.
Yeah. So we've got two staff members now, and it's been good. It's been good for Judith, like, to be able to, I guess, know that it's not just all work ahead of her, because that's what it's kind of been. Like, I've been just saying to her, just another 5 more years of hard work, babe. But that's realistic. Like, I'm not trying to sugarcoat or anything. I'm being honest. I was like, trust me though, like 5 years of like the work that we've been putting in now, like, look at the exponential growth we're getting. It only becomes bigger and bigger the more hard work you put in, and delay that gratification till later. Like I said to her, like, we're breaking through the ceiling. Like, it's going to be like this, and everything's going to come together, and it's all going to just, you know, all that hard work will be paying off for itself, you know, and it's compounding, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, and that's it. You're almost now able, well, I don't know, you might be able now to take on a lot more of those, you know, the different projects and whatnot, and go to the different stages of the different businesses and stuff, because you've now got the people in the right place. You know, you can talk to the right people in the development, or you know who to go to and know who to network with to kind of get that process kickstarted earlier. You know the people in property. You've got the staff now working under you to kind of help alleviate some of that pressure there, pressure. And it's not that takes all the pressure off, because it doesn't. It just opens up more pressure in all of those areas for yourself. But it kind of takes care of the stuff that you otherwise, you know, were having to do, which was almost taking away from that kind of growth. And so actually having that right network of people under you is enabling you to kind of take that step forward.
Well, you hear a lot of the big entrepreneurs, and they talk about their team like pretty much all the time. Like, it's not just me doing this, it's literally me, my team, my dad, you know, like, there's a lot going into this, and like, because, you know, he's still got to come up on his end of the bargain, you know, like, he's still got to work a full-time job and then provide that value to the in-laws to, you know, gain that access to the house. You know, there's a lot. We're all gotta. It's gotta, I call it like symbiotic. What is it? Symbiotically working together. Like all of us have to help each other, because or else we're gonna come up short, or things are gonna go wrong, or it just becomes a lot more difficult. And especially for Judith, like, it's been amazing now that we're able to get that team so that it can actually fund me, because what people don't understand is when you go to develop, you don't get paid. Like, so I will be putting all my time into, like, a lot of my time into the development, and I still won't get paid for another year or two. You know, like, that's play into the same thing again, that delayed gratification. Like, everyone goes, oh, you're a property developer, you're making heaps of money. It's like, you don't really make money until you've maybe done your 3rd, 4th or 5th development, is what I sort of see from the guys. Like, we still do well, and I think we deserve to do well, because it's a lot of risk. And fucking, I haven't lost any hair yet, so you know, it's probably going to come. You know, I'm getting to those age where well, Dad's got one, so it's coming for me eventually. You know, it's inevitable.
We got those genes.
Just shave it. You know.
Own it.
Well, even grays, I've got no grays. You know, like,
I got heaps in there.
Definitely, I've been wearing the stress on me a lot lately. This last month or two, it's been pretty full on. But I also know it's, once I get all my ducks in a row and make sure that I'm covering most of my bases, it's never going to be 100% coverage, but it will be able to just take a little bit of a step back and be like, okay, sweet, now the systems can fall into place. and then I won't have so much on my shoulders because I'm trying to juggle 3 big things at once. You know, normally you just do one big thing.
Yep, and then move on to the next one.
Yeah, but if I pull it all off, it's going to be amazing. It's going to come together quite nicely, and they're sorted. The house on the in-laws, main farm sorted, and then, you know.
And they kind of start working together too, right?
Yep.
Like the Judith's house, that kind of helps from her perspective.
Yep.
Her parents and your parents, that kind of ends up going in together, which then frees up your development property. Like they tend to kind of like overlap.
Yeah.
And one can kind of help each other as you go along too.
Well, you saw my thinking, right? When I was like, shit, I can, if I pull this off, it will work out quite nicely. And then it will be like, shit, cool. Now parents are sorted. Don't need to worry about like them, because the property that we're buying for Judith, we might chop up and then put on a house at the back there as well. So, like, you know, as always, I'm thinking of the future development that can be our next.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not going to happen like straight away, because I've got shit that I need to
got to take care of this one first.
Yeah, because, you know, Judith was just going like, oh, calm down, bro. Like, you need to chill out. But I'm just like, one day you will thank me for my urgency.
Yeah.
I get that you're in the now and you're going like, whoa, hold your horses, like chill out. Let's try and, you know, relax a little bit. But I think I ramp up at the right times. I think I'm not always like go. It's just like I can see this window, like shit, let's go in this window.
Try to take it
and
now.
we can just chill, you know, like I've learned from my mistakes, you know. I don't want to be making the same mistakes I've done in the past, like where I just worked so hard that my health went to shit, you know.
It brings up a good point, and something I was actually going to ask. You know, I think a lot of people probably, and it might not have the exact same stress that you've got, or the exact same situation that you're currently in. But I think we've all at some point in time realized that we're probably juggling a few too many things, and then realizing that something slips. Have you noticed anything slip?
Yeah, I haven't been doing as much cardio. I've been, like if I was to nitpick at something that's probably taken more of a back foot, I just have had a really nuts like last 3 weeks of the coffee business as well. Like, and that's lightened up this week. So it's been actually nice. I've got back into my cardio, like been just done a spin class yesterday, doing a bit more longer walks and stuff. It would be just that, like that would be the one thing I'll probably nitpick on, and the podcast actually. So because
how early did you notice it?
I noticed the podcast pretty like instantly, but then I kind of was just like, so I just edited a podcast yesterday, and I published them yesterday, like, because I was like, okay, I've missed 1 week of making one and getting one out every week. We've only got 3 sitting in the bank, bro, so we need a...
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so we need a...
Too many skips.
Well, I think because we had like a couple of oopsies as well. So like we've had a few where we've recorded the audio but not the video, and then recorded the video.
A bit of a tip for people, press the record button.
Pretty much, like, it's bound to happen, you know, like we ain't a studio, or we don't have someone behind the camera. Like I'm trying to wear another hat, so I didn't even include that into there, you know, because this is very important to me as well as what I feel, and that's something I wanted to get back to. That was probably if it wasn't the cardio, it would be this. Is one thing that I said to Judith. I was like, I want, even though like we've got 50 subscribers, you know, across the board, it still matters to me, because I get comments still. I still get people like, I listened to that episode and man, you had some really good advice there, and like it feels good. Like it's actually super nice to know that, you know, it's
information is helping people.
Yeah, my information has value for someone. Like that's where I think it starts, and I think I got to keep that in mind always with this, and not lose track of that. And that's why I was like, okay, I want to be doing this, even though I've got a lot on my plate. It's good. I love catching up with you, and I'm thinking of adding in maybe a couple sit downs with Judith, like with her journey, just so we're not having to pull you all the time out of there, and then maybe even just try a few different things. You know,
Yeah.
it's all about like learning and trying new things with it.
Yep.
But yeah, that it would be probably this one here that I would say is what I've been missing. But I knew I was never gonna let it fall to the back foot.
Yeah.
You know, I was gonna take initiative, and that's why I messaged you. I was like, hey, you know, I've been working on things in the studio, trying to get things sorted while things have been crazy. But yeah,
and I think that's an important point to make. And it's like, you know, things will start to slip away when you're busy, when you're juggling multiple hats, whether that's, you know, again, exactly your situation, or anyone listening, I'm sure, will have their own situation that is some derivative of that. You know, there'll be multiple things going on. There'll be times where you'll feel kind of overwhelmed. And at some point, something's probably going to slip. And I think at that point, it's a matter of noticing that it's slipping. And, hey, just having that, like, question almost like you did, is it a priority? And a lot of people kind of like, they want everything to be the priority.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, something's going to have to kind of fall.
Yeah.
And at that point, it doesn't have to fall forever. It doesn't have to fall all the way back to the start. But we do need to kind of like, okay, well, here is literally what I need to do today and in my immediate future. This is my priority list. I'll get this done, which will then free up the time. Like you said, like when you have a different team under you and they can take on some of those tasks, well, then that frees up the time to be able to do the other things that you did let slip. And it's noticing that, okay, yes, we don't want to let it slip. And is there a maintenance? Is there a maintenance dose that can kind of at least keep it ticking along? You know, if it's cardio, hey, shit, can I at least do one cardio session a week or something like that? Yeah,
and that's what I did. Yeah. I had one, like that's it.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm still doing the thing that's going to keep it there. You know, it's just like this. Okay, we're still having the conversation. Yeah. We still press the record button. Yeah. And it's like, okay, there's an episode still there. And it's like, it's still keeping there. Yeah. And sure, there'll be times where, okay, that will then become the priority and fuck, the developments would have already been done. And that will no longer be the priority and you'll be looking for the next opportunity there. And you'll have that time to obviously go back into all those other areas. But I think a lot of people probably, you know, and I was guilty of this, is almost like become overwhelmed by your own guilt, purely by trying to do too many things, but then ending up fucking up all of them, rather than actually just like doing the things that are immediately important. Yeah. But also having that conversation with yourself, like, what's the maintenance dose? You know, what's the maintenance dose in all the other things that I still find valuable? Yeah. Even if I'm not giving them 100% of my attention. Yeah.
And everyone's different too. Like they have a different notion or a different particular thing that they don't want to slip. And mine was because like we've been talking about it so much about my health. Yeah. There were a few days, like we had some really long days and we just had a lot going on, and Judith was just like, oh, Aaron, just take the day off the gym. I was like, I'm not doing it. Yeah. Like I just didn't do it. Like I still went to the gym and I was absolutely exhausted, bags under my eyes, looked like shit. I got a couple messages from the bros like, fuck, you look like crap, bro. And I'm like, thanks. but I even like reply, I was like, felt like it too, man. Yeah. You know, like just genuinely like, and that's why I thought I'd post it, because I was like, man, I look like shit. Yeah. Like, and then, but it's the whole point is I'm still there doing it because I don't want to let myself fall out of that. That was my one thing I said, you know, no matter how busy I get with my developments and stuff. And I said to Judith, just you stay home. Like, it's all right. Like, you need the rest. It's all good. Like, this is my thing that I said to myself. You didn't sign up for what I want, you know. That's what I mean by, like, everyone's got their own different point that they don't want to miss. It might be some people in their relationship, they're like, nah, I'm not letting that fucking go on the back foot, you know, something like that. Yep. Whereas for me, I was like, okay, it's my only time I have to myself, realistically, because I have the business at home. Yeah. Then I've constantly got everything else going on in the background in my head with the development. It's like, it's the only time I go there and I actually get to just chill out and enjoy it. And I love it because I sometimes run into our friends and we have a quick chin wag and just updates, you know, little mild updates. And I want that, you know, I didn't want to let that slip. Yeah.
I'm the same with walking. Like it doesn't matter. Yeah. I feel better after it. Yeah. You know, it's like, why are you walking in the rain? Why are you walking fucking 5K to get to work? It's like, it's that type of shit that it's like, yeah, do I need to do it? No, like, of course I can drive there. Yeah. But that's the one part of my day that gives me back more time in day. You know, like I'm more present in conversations with other people. I'm more engaged with the work that I'm doing. I'm more positive, generally speaking, purely because I've actually given myself that time of day just for me. And it's just like, but that's my non-negotiable.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm 100% always doing this.
Yeah.
And it's like, it has to be rain, hail, shine, like
it has to be bucketing down for you to
like, okay, like
corpse drop me off.
I better not actually get just soaking wet and
because you get sick as well, and then you end up passing it off to clients, or you're not actually turning up to work because you shot yourself in the foot. Hey, we're probably the kings of shooting ourselves in the foot, though, right? Like,
hard.
What is it called? Self-sabotage.
But it's almost like it is so key because it's hey. Those non-negotiables, yes. Is that going for a 10K run? No. Like, is it going to give me the same cardiovascular benefit as going for a 10K run or a 5K run? No. Like, definitely not. But it gives me something.
Yeah.
And it's that I won't at least let that slip. Now, on a perfect day, I'd probably do that and a 5K run or a 10K run and whatnot.
Yep.
But at least as a bare minimum, I'm still getting in the thing. And the thing at least makes me feel as though I'm progressing in a direction or at least not regressing in the wrong direction. And I think that's key too. Like that whole momentum swing is massive.
Yeah.
Especially when you're busy, especially when you're stressed.
Yeah.
Because it feels as though you've got a sense of control and I like boxes.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about like how it helps you like with your work and being more present at work. So what's been going on with you? Enough about me, you know,
yes. Well, we're coming into the summer months. Everyone's trying to get their summer body now. But no, this year's actually been a completely different year in comparison to last year business wise.
I think it will always be every year on year. There'll be something different, right?
Something different. And we've definitely noticed the shift in how people are spending as initially basically not spending as much, and now obviously people are starting to spend a little bit more. Whether or not that coincides with the property market and changes.
Yeah, well, it's economics, right? It's the economy. Like when pressure's alleviated off in this area, it frees up some spending money, if you will, on actually focusing on either your health or your well-being, and just frees up a little bit of extra coin. And when people haven't got, you know, there's someone's foot on their neck, you know, they become a bit more enjoyable. They want to actually look after themselves a bit better.
Take care of their health a little bit more. And this year we noticed that probably hit us more during the mid part of the year in comparison to last year.
Well, because last year we were fully in it, right? In the recession,
Yep. And last year was almost, and I think I was looking at the numbers earlier this week, and it was around August things started to pick up. And so like fitness or health in general always takes a drop off. It's very seasonal. You come around April, May, and it starts to die down. So you know, the whole New Year's thing kind of falls by a wayside, and then April, May it starts to kind of take a dip through to around July, and it was August last year that it kind of started to pick up again. And then August, September, October, November, half of November was super busy. And then obviously late November, December starts to drop off. January drop off, February pick up again. But this year it kind of continued, and it was low probably from around March, April. So it's around a month earlier than normal. And it continued up until really this month. Or late September. So we kind of added an extra month at the other end of it, where it was a little bit slower, and kind of took a month away at the beginning where it was a little bit slower earlier too. So we noticed that. But just recently, and so I mean, throughout that whole process, we were kind of almost refining. Okay, do we continue to push our hours out, premium service and things like that? Do we kind of open the doors a little bit more so we can kind of capture more people at times that are available for them rather than just times that are available or perfect for us? Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, like just trying to develop a product or an online product so that, hey, there's something else that they can purchase outside of just obviously
your time and stuff.
So, that was interesting because that was a struggle that we didn't have to deal with in the first year. And of course, they all say second year of business is hard. And so we're kind of like, weren't ready for that storm, but had to weather it anyway.
Because that's what a lot of people don't talk about is growth and then not being ready to service the growth is a huge part. And that's where a lot of companies, like you probably say, for that second year, they fall over because they've, like you're saying, they got their hands out trying to catch it all, but then they're like, oh shit, how do I fulfill this?
Yeah.
How do I, it's like, there's only one of you, one of Haley,
Yep.
you know, like there's only a certain amount of hours in the day, and you're like, how do you do it without dropping your premium service, right?
Yep, 100%. And so, looking at, online products in order to be able to, like, hey, this is still what we're about, so you can still engage with the brand without necessarily, again, kind of taking time. And then I guess recently it's now with towards the end of the year and daylight saving, that's definitely sparked within the last few weeks a little
100%.
revival in people's health and health and fitness. And so that's been cool because we've been able to, like we've got the times now available. It's almost had a seasonal change of clients, a little bit in with the new, out with the old. It's starting to feel that momentum pick up again, which is cool. And at the same time, that a lot of the gyms now are working on their last 8-week challenge thing of the year. And so we kind of jump in with a few different body fits and things like that. But also High Rocks coming up. So have you heard of the High Rocks event?
No, where's that?
No, so they're bringing it to Auckland.
So I know what High Rocks is.
Oh, you do know?
I actually thought I wouldn't be too bad at that actually with the cardio and because it sort of plays a bit better to
strengths.
Yeah, well, it's slightly taller people.
Yeah,
I think whereas I find all of those other the CrossFits and stuff you kind of got to be mean at in
gymnastics.
Gymnastics and deep squats, which I struggle at.
True. Yeah,
but at least with the ball, it uses me, it shoves me down. So.
I'm already halfway there, so I just need to reach this far. But then even the rowing, right? Rowing, ski erg, and things like that, it typically makes it a little bit easier. Farmers carry, so just being strong obviously helps. And so
I definitely will give it a go. I would say. So I'm keen to try heaps of new things. Like I'm definitely done from being stuck in my box. Yeah.
Well, and so that's coming to New Zealand in Feb. So they're bringing the first New Zealand one, I think, with a lot of the Australian ones that they had this year. A lot of the New Zealand, or there were a lot of New Zealand competitors go over.
Yeah, I saw that a few Kiwis did pretty well over there for the Aussie one.
I think even one body fit gym in Hamilton took 40 members over or something. It was.
Was it? That was Taurus? Taurus? Yeah.
No, that was TA.
Okay.
Body Fit TA.
Yeah.
They took 40 members.
Taurus had a main event there,
right.
And they did a CrossFit when we had the coffee
they
cart.
have nationals.
Yeah.
CrossFit nationals.
Yeah. That was really good when we went there.
Yep. They run the nationals, I think, or the national qualifier.
Oh, that makes sense. We didn't know what it was because we were man, it was packed. It was cool too. Busy.
Yeah. So I mean that's coming in Feb, and we have quite a lot of clients and new clients now gearing up towards that.
Yeah, well, it's 3-4 months away, right? You need to do that kind of building block.
the building prep now, which is cool because it's starting to reinvigorate that sports science area back into
your repertoire
work and things that I'm doing, because for a long time there it's and it still is to this day about obviously habit building and behavior change and everything like that. But now I kind of get to put the gym shoes back on and the sports science shoes back on and kind of get into the weeds of, hey, how do we actually make people the best they possibly can be for a specific event, which is, I mean, that was the thing that got me excited about nutrition in the first place.
It's wicked.
So getting back into that is cool, and it's bringing back the marathon vibes and all of the...
Honestly, bro, it's weird that you say that because it's like for me with my development, it's that
back to the roots.
Yeah, back to what I actually truly enjoy.
Yep.
And that's sort of, it's not that I didn't enjoy the coffee cart. It was just that was more helping Judith grow the business, and that was her baby.
Yep.
And now I'm back doing what I think is my purpose is to develop, and then also this with through real estate and helping people with real estate transactions and just even giving them the education, and not even actually helping them with their transactions. It's more like pick up off of my little things that I'm talking about, and then you have a better understanding. So then when you're in it at the moment, you actually don't make the same mistakes that I have, you know. But it's cool that you're getting that I guess that little bit of that drive back again. Yeah.
And it there's something there with regards to like it helps you weather the storm, I think. You know, whenever you feel the storm come in, you can just tolerate it a bit more.
Yeah.
Because the passion's there, the interest is there, and you're keen on learning even if it's not going your way. It's I wrote last week about intrinsic motivation for our weekly newsletter, and it's when it's your passion, when it's the thing that you want to be doing, it doesn't really matter how shitty it gets. Like, you can weather a hell of a lot more purely because you're motivated for that shit.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I say to myself when I catch myself having a little bit of a whinge or like, oh man, I'm busy. Like, I keep saying this. It's like, I don't like to be the person who says, oh man, I've got no time, I'm too busy, because I don't believe in that. Like, I think it's more priority.
Yep.
Like, I catch myself and I would say, it's like, man, this is what you asked for. And then I just would get over it. It's like, this is literally what you asked for. Like, you asked for it. It was delivered to you exactly how you want it, and then you knew that it was going to put on heaps of pressure. And that's why I was pre-warning Judith, like, when it comes to the development, like, there's going to be some moments where it's just, there's a lot going on, and I'm going to be half not there because, God, she's been, you're not even listening. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, babe. But I'm trying to be here, but it's just like, I'm off over here trying to think of things, and that's how I solve my problems, because I'm constantly figuring out the problems in my head during day to day.
And it's like, I think at that point, the communication is key, because you become so overwhelmed and invested in the thing that you're passionate about and the thing that's going on. You know, again, whether or not that's sport, whether or not that's development, whether or not that's ... for whoever's out there. When you're in that zone, you're so focused on it, and you want to be focused on it. And again, it inherently takes away from other things. It's always going to. But the communication of that, I think, is always key. And it's like, hey, like, I'm doing this piece, or I'm thinking about this, or I'm worrying about this, blah blah blah. And it's not that that's a negative thing, because I want to be worrying about it. But I think the communication of that is probably something that I need to work on. Especially this time around.
I think it is probably huge. Like, I think she's probably appreciated that I pre-warned her.
Yes.
But then when she's actually going through the actual thing I warned her about, it's not as nice. It's still not nice, but I guess it would have been more of a blow if I didn't give you the pre-warning. But still, you know, like, doesn't give you an excuse to
no.
Like, that's where I think I kind of go, okay, like, I did warn you, but it doesn't mean I have to be a dick about
Correct.
it, you know, like,
I at least realize that I'm doing it.
And
I told you that I was going to do it, because I'm not perfect. But when I am doing it, still pull me up on it. And I'll try not to make an impact. But it does, you just get so like immersed in the thing that you're doing that it does tend to kind of...
Only a few people will understand this though as well. Like, not 100%. Many people fully immerse themselves like we do, you know, like, it's not to say that we're special or anything like that. It's just like, there's some people that can just fucking dive in and just be in that deep water for a long time, like, and thrive off of it sometimes.
And that's what I was going to say. It's almost like personality, you know, there's a negative element and a positive element to it. Like, you can go into it, and I love it. Like, I love that shit where you can just be completely immersed and almost feel as though you need to tread water and you're barely doing it. It feels like you're going somewhere, and I can get immersed in all that stuff. But at the same time, then it often comes with the, you know, okay, well, if you're that deep in that water, there's all this other area that you're really not paying attention to. For me, it's noticing the two. But again, I don't know if you could have one without the other.
Yeah, my thing is, when I look at all the things that like get neglected, I just go, those things won't even matter when I reach my peak or something like that. You know, I know that's the thing. I guess you got to be confident in knowing that you're doing the right thing and you're actually working on the right thing. Whereas I think I know, it was like, well, man, you know, all the arguments that I've had with my parents and everything that, you know, has gone on in the background and stuff will be like, all forgotten once you kind of, once you get to things that actually calm, sorted, and you're like, oh shit, that's why he was putting in so much effort and making sure things were getting done on time so that we can get to this point sooner.
Yeah.
Because the sooner we get to those points, the more I can actually, I guess, do what I properly love, which is, helping people, focusing on this, building. I really enjoy the building process. I like creating. It's creating a house, I love that part of that process, and I want to get back to that and doing those things. But you got to sort other things out. Yeah. Then you can be like, okay, now I can fully immerse into it.
And that's what I mean. It's almost having that that maintenance dose of that stuff, so you still feel human and normal. When you know that you are going to be fully submerged in the thing that you're doing, and it's just like, hey, again, I might not be able to give this optimal amount of time and everything currently here and now, but how can I maintain it at least so that when I do get back to it, I can actually start to facilitate the growth in that area again.
How's Hayley taking on the
good actually? So she's changed her other work hours.
Yep.
And now she's got, I think it's just more routine, and so there's less kind of like chops and changes week to week.
Yep.
And so there's a lot more routine in her schedule.
Because she opened up more of the schedule as well, like doing a bit of late hours, or
so she does normally lates on Tuesdays, but she's taken most Fridays and now Monday too. So just taking up, because she's no longer needing to be somewhere else. That's just opened up the time so that she can create more of a routine during the middle of her week or through the bulk of her week, which frees up time to obviously have more of a consistent kind of client schedule. And at the same time, like, now we're able to take those clients on. And so when we're getting the people kind of come into the inbox, we can be like, yeah, sweet, we can see you this week, we can see you here, we can see you here, rather than, I will see you in a couple of weeks' time. It's like, okay, well, now you can.
Well, you got to strike while the iron's hot, eh? Like, 100%. Honestly, you really do with your style of business. And it's kind of a hard one too. Like, you kind of get out what you put in. Like, so if you open yourself up, and like put yourself out there, okay, I'm free in these areas, then people will go, oh, when I looked 6 months ago, you guys only had this window, and that never ever fit in my scope. And then, you know what I mean? Like, then now when I like look back again, it's like, oh, well, actually that could work for me. Like, it's a bit more flexible, because I think a lot of people, like, they want to, but you kind of like, especially with your guys' line, like, if you give any barriers to entry, like, they're quite hard to any hurdles. They're like, oh, there's my hurdle. No, I'm turn around.
I'm gone.
Yep, sweet. I'm not going to do that now. You gave them their excuse.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's funny because at certain points, and this happened especially while I was PTing, you feel as though you're a slave to the client. And I think there's a bit of give and take there. It's like, okay, like, we'll try and obviously make it work for the both of us. And I'm more incentivized anyway to make it fit them more than it fits me, purely because obviously, like, you want the business. But at the same time, you also don't want gaps here, and here, like at random times of the day where you're just kind of playing a to and fro game. So if you can find a middle ground where you've got a bulk of clients, even if that means you're working later, starting later, or finishing early, starting early, if you can get the bulk of those clients in around the same kind of times a day, even if that is at a suboptimal time for you, like, it's just fucking worth it. Like, I may as well stay until 7 at night and start at 10 in the morning. Or start at 7 in the morning and finish at 2 in the afternoon.
100%.
Then try and fit 9 to 5.
And I guess it's just working with your clients, right, and making sure that it's like, actually, can this work? And then most of them actually go, that can work.
Well, I think the whole work from home thing has opened up a lot of freedom in a lot of people's schedules, and so a lot of people that actually were working in an office-based environment can essentially fit a lot of times to work. Some people obviously are always going to be routined into, I can only come after work. But a lot of people now, especially since COVID, have kind of started to shift the office model, and they're given freedom, or they'll plan the appointments around like the work from home days when they've got a bit more flexibility, which tends to help to at least block the middle of the day. So again, we're not just bloody split shifting every day, like coming in the morning and then coming back in the afternoon, which granted I was doing while I was PTing. and I would hope I don't have to go back to that again.
Yeah.
I won't say I won't have to go back to that, but I'm saying I'd hope I don't have to go back to that
exactly.
again.
You always got to be willing.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's the thing. Is
I'll do it.
Yeah, we were talking about like buying this house for Judith. I was just like, hey, like, because if we couldn't sort things out, we're like, we'll move there.
Yep.
I was like, I don't want to move out of like my house that I've built, but I said, but I'll do it if I have to.
Do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought of a good little thing for you when you were saying how like you're being really busy.
Yeah.
And they say, especially for your line of business, like you should probably have like a little referral code or something like that there. If they refer someone, give them a code, and then their first booking is like 10% off or 15% off or something like that, and then that gives them a 20% off on their next checkup or something like that. Because it's something like that, or like you guys would figure out your numbers, whatever that will work. Because you're in your peak right now, and then if you actually service that well enough and just be like, hey, like only if I'm, because I already know you provide the service because like you're my guy. You could just be like, hey, if you're really happy with our service, like here's this. Do you think someone else deserves it? And then you can even tell them about the story about how I've shouted my mate a meal plan. Like it's time to think of one another. Start maybe that could be this conversation. Like they've talked about a loved one, a family member, or something like that. You can give them that ability because that word of mouth, and that might fill up your dead spot. Because this is the area where you're getting people through. They're going to go through that next 3 months of you servicing them and giving them the good results. Then you can actually have that go, hey, bring someone along, we would really appreciate that, and we'll look after them, and then we'll look after you as well for the referral.
It's actually a good idea because I'd say word of mouth is probably, and I don't know the percentage to be exact, but I'm going like probably 80 to 85% of our referral process. So most of like where we obtain new clients is essentially 80 to 85% from word of mouth.
Yep.
And that's all organic.
Yep.
Right. So that's just, you obviously, if you do a good job, then people tell people.
Yep.
Or people ask about it because they realize that you're looking and you're healthier and fitter and whatnot. So they ask, oh, what have you been up to?
Yeah. 100%.
But there's more of an incentive for that person that they're then telling.
For that conversation to go a little bit further.
Or even reduce barriers,
Yeah.
Like you're saying. Like if there's any barrier that they're going to take, they'll fucking take it if they don't want to do it. Whereas if you can lower those barriers even more, which again, at the moment, maybe price is one of those barriers. And so if there's, okay, well, you get 10% off if you use this person's name. Like,
yeah, but I also think it gives them, because then they can be a part of their process as well. If you know what I mean, they can be like, oh, I could say that with a few of our mates, like I've trying to get them onto the healthy path, and like a couple have actually taken really well and they're doing really well off of it.
Yeah.
But it gives them that little bit of, I guess, kudos as well. They're kind of, but I think of it as a area, because this is that period where you're going to be servicing them for the next 3-4 months, and they're going to be looking really good, and then that's going to come up to the quiet period, and then if they're going, man, you're looking mean, and then that might fill that small that low. That was my thought pattern.
Especially with a lot of the new clients too, because a lot of those new clients, they will be the ones that are probably going to get the faster results.
Yep.
And so with that, they're probably, if they can then talk to other people, that just continues to generate that new line of business. So
yeah,
it's a good idea.
I don't know. Yeah, run it by Haley. I just thought of it when you were saying, like, because you got about your sort of your moments, and that's where you need to attack there.
Yeah.
Because if not attack, but you give them that option at that point, because then that's when they get at the end of it and they're really happy with your service and they want to talk about you. They've got the ability to go, actually, here, use this code or something like that. Or Mikey's doing it because, like, whenever word of mouth, it helps me for my next appointment, and it'll help you on your first appointment.
Well, I mean, we always end up buying protein powders and bloody supplements and things just to stock in the office too. So I mean, what's a bloody free electrolyte, or what's a free creatine powder or something like that as well? So we can even use the things that we've
use
already...
that, book that in and come in and get a starter package or something like that.
Yeah, we'll give you, I don't know, $30 off or $20 off or something, or you can have a creatine instead, up to you. Like, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know, just a bit of food for thought.
Good idea.
Yeah. Is there anything else like been going on? Like, what's new? Nothing else?
No, not really. No,
just hectic for both of us.
Just work is work is probably the main one at the moment. obviously we were talking earlier about moving house and that kind of thing. So that's coming up in the personal sense.
Yeah.
Which that's always a stressful time. You have to go and look for bloody.
Oh yeah, it's just as bad as trying to buy a house, right? Like, and I might even say it's probably tougher. Like, I think the rental market is very hard to find a place because it's just things get snapped up.
100%. And especially, while people weren't buying houses, and so more people were renting. Yeah. And so, that might change now, but that might also limit the amount of houses that are on the rental market.
And prices go up.
And then prices. Exactly. So
yeah, renters are weird. There's they got their own like category, like with like how houses and like prices go up and blah blah blah.
Yep.
And then there's like renters. Very rare they come backwards. They sometimes do a 5% correction, whereas real estate they can do a 30 to 50% correction sometimes. Like some can take like, well, we just went for a 30% dip.
Yep.
In pricing. Some people that bought 2 years ago, but your rent hasn't become 30% cheaper, has it?
It's consistently gone up by about
it's very
5,
rare
10%.
for it to come back. Sometimes it does, but because we in New Zealand, we always have a shortage of housing, so we have a housing shortage.
Yep.
It's very rare that the rent comes back. You got to know someone.
Yeah.
Pretty much. You got to have some sort of in or connection with someone.
And that'll be a personal, individual basis rather than the market as a whole or the industry as a whole.
So it's not really a part of that data.
Nah. The general trend is that everything tends to go up. So interesting.
I think that was a good little catch up. We hadn't had a catch up since March, so at least it gives. I'm pretty sure that's when we did it. When I uploaded the episode, March catch up.
Yeah.
So like we've been just doing topics and stuff, and it's good to swing back, and
100%.
We'll probably do another one in the new year. I'd say.
And hey, I mean, I think that one was probably more fitness focused, right? Whereas found now, like this one's obviously been a bit more like business focused.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting. We tend to have the same trends.
Yeah, right. Like it's the seeds that we're planting, right? Yeah, I think it's 100%. And it tends to be like how that is going. It's like, okay, well now the fruit is bearing from the seeds we planted for the business at the start of the year that we were talking about.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Give us a like and a share, and if anyone has any questions for developments, if you're still here, just yell out to me. I'm an open book. I'm happy to help if you got any questions on developing, building houses, real estate. I am more than happy to help. I can just give you my advice. You don't have to take it either, but it's never hurts to ask. Power of the ask.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, like I think the power is in the ask, and more people asking those questions, and especially use the knowledge that you've got. Especially because it's there, and if anything that he has said during this podcast has kind of resonated from the housing market or the development market, like use that to, like you said, ignite the light, take the fucking, open the door and let the fire go.
Yeah, like I honestly think about so many times where I could have been helped by someone like myself that was willing to help.
Yeah.
I find even like now I'm still trying to ask questions in the development world, and like I'm not getting anywhere. Yeah. And I'm like, man, like why are you... So I have to figure it out myself, which is fine. Yeah. That means like it's giving me more knowledge that I can pass on to others.
100%.
Because it doesn't hold any value to them to not disclose the information. I just don't get that mentality where you're like, oh, figure it out yourself, or
fucking
like
ego.
I've got no time. Like I just don't understand it. But yeah, any questions, throw them at me.
100%.
Awesome. Thanks for listening, guys.